This is video 12 of the CUTP template instructional series. In this video, we will be demonstrating features of the master scheduler which you will need to implement and manage your training plan schedule. These features include assigning instructors and class locations to scheduled periods of instruction. As well, we will learn more about managing Year 5 cadet schedulers. To get to the master scheduler, you click on PO schedulers and then the master scheduler button on the right, and the window opens up. Let's take a quick tour of the screen, starting with the parade night date for each parade night, and below the parade night date is the activity information box showing activities that are happening between one parade night and the next. Across the top we have the training levels or phases for each year, and then we have the training periods for each period of the parade night, periods 1, 2, and 3. All looking pretty familiar so far. We have the EO that's scheduled, and what you see here for the first time is a field for the instructor assignment for period 1 and a field for the classroom location or training location for that period. And we have that for each period. As a result, this screen displays 3 weeks of training at one time. All other features of the initial scheduler, such as drag and drop, and as you can see here, the PO highlighting, are available just like they are on the other scheduler screens. You can see that we have the regular scroll bar here to advance down the training schedule up and down, and then we have a scroll bar here, depending on how many classes we have, to scroll across the classes that we have active. We have the filters that you're already familiar with across the top of the screen, and here we can click on the Show Year 5 Cadet Schedules button to bring those Year 5 cadets on, and we can see their individual schedules here. And we'll talk more about those schedules later on. To the left of the screen then we have the instructor list. So far we just have those Year 5 cadets which are entered by default on the instructor list. And it indicates that they're Year 5 cadets with the asterisk marks. Here we have class locations, which we haven't added any yet, and certainly we have the EO information box, so when we click on an EO, we get that EO information available here. We're going to be taking a look next then at the instructor functions and location functions using these buttons. So taking a look first at instructors, clicking on Edit Instructors. This screen then allows us to add instructors other than the Year 5 cadets. So anyone other than Year 5 cadets would be added and managed here. One of the first things that you will look at doing is importing instructors from your staff list. Clicking on this button will import all staff from your staff list. And from there then you can look at anyone who might not be instructing, and if you need to make any deletions, you simply double click on the individual's name and it prompts you to confirm if that individual is to be deleted. You can click yes, and then you have the remaining staff. You then have the option of adding other instructors. So this would typically be anyone that is not a Year 5 cadet, such as cadets who have completed Year 5, and so you would add them in here. So I'll just start adding in some names. And you click the Add button each time. There, so I've added some additional instructors. And what I can do here is we can manage preferences for these instructors. So I can indicate some training levels or phases that an instructor will tend to work with on a regular basis, and we'll see how those features help us later on when we're assigning instructors. So I could say that a Warrant Officer Bus here primarily works with level 1 and 2, so I'll deselect the other levels. I could say that Warrant Officer Car tends not to work with levels 1 and 2 and tends to work with these other levels. Perhaps Warrant Officer Plane only works with level 1, and perhaps Warrant Officer Truck only works with level 2, and perhaps Warrant Officer Train works with everybody. So we'll see how these preferences that we set here can help filter the instructor list later on. Once I'm done, I exit out of here, and we can see the instructor list has been updated, and you can see the sort order. So we have other instructors other than staff up here at the top, and these are sorted alphabetically within each category. And the next category listed is the Year 5 cadets, and finally staff at the bottom. So you'll always know where in the list to look for a particular category of cadets and instructors, pardon me, and you can see here that we have the scroll bar that we can scroll up and down the instructor list as well. The edit locations functions work much the same. Obviously there's no import function, but you would simply start then by clicking in the location name field and start adding locations. So this list tends to be fairly simple. You just type in a name for a particular classroom or training location that you'll use at your parade night. And then with certain training locations, particularly your drill area, you can get a little more advanced. So I can have my parade square as the whole thing, and I can divide it into parts in case I'm assigning more than one drill period to be happening at a time. That way I can distinguish these training locations. So that's just an example. And then we can look at setting preferences as well with these locations. So maybe room 1 is primarily for year 1, and room 2 is primarily for year 2, and likewise with room 3 for year 3, and room 4, room 5, and then the parade square would likely, all the options there would apply to all training levels. And so what we'll see later on is how the classroom list then will filter according to the training levels and phases that we have displayed. Exiting out of there, we can see our class locations are updated and appear here with a little scroll bar, so that's available. So now we're going to take a look, and we have our instructor list populated, we have our class locations list, and so really we're ready to start assigning instructors to EOs as well as class locations. To begin assigning, I'm going to go back up to the top of the training schedule, and I'm going to take a look at PO 107, and we see that there's complementary and there's mandatory classes. If I click on that EO, I'll get other EOs related to it in the same PO highlighted. I will pick an instructor that I want to work with. So I want to work with Warrant Officer Bus, and I want to assign Warrant Officer Bus to teach this first class, Complementary 10703. So I go to the period where I want to make the assignment, and then I double click in the instructor field for the applicable EO, and Warrant Officer Bus is assigned. To unassign the instructor for that class, I simply go to that instructor field for the desired EO and double click, and the instructor is unassigned. So for a single period, that's how you would make an instructor assignment. And that, of course, you have a lot of periods to assign, and that could take some time. So we do have an autofill tool for you to use to make that job a little bit easier. So we click on the autofill button and we get this tool opening up, and we pick the instructor that we want to work with, in this case Warrant Officer Bus, and we're going to be using option 1 initially here for initial assignments, and you pick the training level or phase that you're working with, and the PO. Now notice we're going to go down to 107. So complementary and mandatory exist separately, and you need to be aware of that. And with these filters, you use as many as you need. In this case, I'm going to assign all complementary EOs with PO 107. I could use certain date fields if I wanted, but I want to assign all, so I will stop here. Click Fill in Instructor. It tells me that it's been successfully completed. The window closes, and I can check the result, and it's been assigned. Now I also want to use the same instructor to teach the mandatory 107 classes, so I'll go back into the autofill tool, reselect this instructor, complete the filters, this time for mandatory 107, and click Fill in Instructor. Instructor has been assigned, click OK, and check the results. Now an interesting feature here is if I reselect the instructor here, we see, similar to the PO highlighting of that instructor, and we can look down the training schedule and see assignments pertaining to that instructor highlighted. Another thing that you can do is double click on the instructor name, and you get an overview of the training year of assignments for that instructor. If there is any conflicts, and we'll be taking a look at that later, that would show here, but you can see where this instructor is available and where they're assigned for the entire year at a quick glance. Now another feature that you can do with the autofill is replace an instructor. So again, it will indicate my original instructor, which was Warrant Officer Bus, and this time going to option 2 where I'm replacing an instructor, and I select who the replacement instructor will be. I'm going to choose Warrant Officer Carr, and if I wanted to replace everything that Warrant Officer Bus was teaching with Warrant Officer Carr, I would stop completing the filters here and choose Fill In. But if I want to be more specific, I would continue filling in as many filters as required. In this case, I want to just replace him on the mandatory 107 and choose Fill in Instructor. It says that it's been completed. The screen closes, and we just want to then check the results. So you can see here that Bus has been replaced with Carr in the training schedule. The assignment of class locations to a particular period or periods of instruction works much the same as what we saw with assigning instructors. If you want to assign a classroom to a single period of instruction, you simply select the classroom location first, go to the period where you want to make the assignment, go to the location field within that period, and double click. And so that period now has room 1 assigned to it. If you want to unassign it, double click in that same field, and the classroom location will be removed. Again, if you have many periods to assign, it's better to use the autofill tool for class locations. You pick the class location that you want to work with, and then the training level or phase. Again, always stop at the level of filters that you require. If I wanted to assign everything for level 1 to that classroom location, I could do it very quickly by hitting Fill in Location Now. Or if you want to be more specific, you simply then continue on with the filters. So in this case, complementary 107, and I click Fill in Location, and then I can check my results. And you can see here that I have room 1 assigned to anywhere where there's a complimentary 107. I'll just move back up the training schedule, go back into my autofill to continue assigning. This time I'm going to do the mandatory 107. Click fill in OK, and then check the results. So you can see the mandatory 107 has been filled in. You can replace a location in exactly the same way we did with instructors by choosing the initial location here, going to option 2, selecting the new location, again indicating the level of filters that you need. In this case, I only have the one PO assigned, complimentary and mandatory 107. So if I stop here, it will only affect that assignment, and click fill in location. And so you can see room 1 for where it was assigned has been replaced with room 2. So just in the same way that we can use PO highlighting for the room, if I want to see all the locations where room 2 is, I click on the room here on the left, and it highlights it in the training schedule. You can see where that is. I can also double click on the class location in the training schedule. I can see all the periods of usage and non-usage for this training location for the entire year at a glance. Just a quick look then at how the preferences that you set for instructors and class locations with regard to particular levels or phases can work with the levels or phases being actively displayed. If I go up to my filters at the top and I display only level 1, you can see that the instructor list has filtered and is only now displaying instructors who have set preferences that include year 1, and the same with class locations. If I add levels or phases, then the list will filter and expand accordingly, or if I take a phase off. So the instructor list and class locations will filter for the levels or phases actively being displayed, which helps you to manage those lists and manage the information being displayed on the screen at one time. Taking a look at Year 5 cadets and the Year 5 schedule. So here I've changed the filter, so I'm showing the Year 5 training class, and I'm showing the Year 5 cadet individual schedules. So you can see where there are periods assigned, how those periods in the Year 5 class are put onto each cadet's individual schedule. From there, you need to take a look at the scheduling priority, which is mandatory classes, and as we looked, for the most part, those are assigned. Then instructional duty assignments, then in the remaining time periods, the complementary self-study packages, and with any remaining time, other duties or OJT assignments as available. And we'll take a look at examples of each of these. In order to look at what the scheduling requirements are for each Year 5 cadet, simply go to an empty period of instruction and right-click on that field, and you will see from the list the available options in numerical order. So we see here we have some a complementary self-study package, 2 mandatory classes for conducting and concluding an exercise, which have to be individually scheduled, and then remaining complementary package, self-study package items for this cadet. And then we see down at the bottom of the list some OJT options, and we'll show you where you can manage that list as well. So first of all, we're going to look at some instructor assignments here. We've got the bulk of the mandatories assigned, except for the two that have to be done individually, and we'll look at that later on. So we're going to go to our next priority, which is instructional assignments for these Year 5 cadets. And if I look at Sergeant Black here and I want to assign him to a single period of instruction, I will fill him in here. And you notice on his individual schedule, we have the M10805 period that we just assigned him to teach, and we can tell it's an instructor assignment because it's prefixed with the I in the brackets, as distinguished from a training class that he's a participant in. So we can see very clearly the difference between the two. If I want to unschedule him again, I would just do that, double click there, and it would be cleared from his schedule, but I do want to keep that in there. And in the same way, I could take Sergeant Blue and schedule Sergeant Blue to teach another period, and you can see how individually then we are customizing these cadet schedules. Once you've completed their instructor assignments, you would start looking at remaining spaces for their complementary self-study. So for example, with Sergeant Black, again, I would go to empty periods for him, and then you simply choose from the list and assign those complementary self-study. We're just going to didn't mean to put that one in there. I'll just redo that. Assigning only the self-study packages. So you can see at this point we've assigned all the complementary self-study packages. We have these two mandatory EOs, and we're left remaining in this list some OJT options, and we'll talk about that in just a second. If I go to Sergeant Blue schedule, you can see we have a number of things yet to assign for Sergeant Blue. So it just shows you how each cadet's schedule is very individually customized again. Talking briefly about OJT or other duties, we have some default options here for you. They might be tell you that they're absent on a particular night, and you might want to enter that to really show yourself that they're not going to be available as an instructor during that time period. Or you might want to assign them administration duties, supply, training. They can do other optional self-study packages, and it's not too important which ones those are, because they have the three mandatory, and those you do need to keep track of. So you could assign them that option as well. So if I want to give this particular cadet some admin duties, I can simply block in the time accordingly. And if I want to create other OJT assignment options, the list is managed up here at the OJT list button. I can delete any one of these default options by double clicking on it, or I could create a new one, whatever that might be. Instructor monitoring, or whatever it might be, and then that would be in the list as one of the choices. So those are the assignments, and again, it's in that order: mandatory EOs, instructional duties, complementary self-study packages, and other duties as available. And we've talked about how to manage that OJT list. We're going to exit out of here and take a look at those mandatory EO assignments here. These are meant to be assigned on the activities where they will be done, and so we'll take a look at how we can assign that for Sergeant Black. So we exit out of here, we go into our activities, go to our supported days, and if I just look at the fall sports on the EOs button, and I choose my Cadet, Sergeant Black, and the PO. The EOs are available here to be attached to this day, and I just double click on them. They pop over onto the right, and those are now assigned. At this point I would close this form, and those come off of that cadet's list of EOs to be scheduled. I'm going to undo this because I want to show you another way of doing this. And so I'm going to close out of here. If I went to a weekend activity, such as exercise, falling leaf, I click on the EOs, and I want to select Year 5 cadets to attach those particular EOs. So I click on that first, and then follow the same process with Sergeant Black, and double click and assign. So just a slightly modified procedure, whether it's a day activity or a weekend activity. And then I close the form and close out again. I go back into my scheduler. I want to show my Year 5 cadet schedules. I'm going to go to an empty period, right click on the list, and you can see now for Sergeant Black there are no further EOs to assign. It's a matter of simply managing OJT duties. Just to touch quickly on drag and drop features, as I indicated earlier, that those features are all available here, just like they are in any of the other scheduler screens. So if I want to move a single period, if I take M10701 and I switch it with period 3, and I drag and drop it, you can see that the instructor and classroom assignment moves with. So that all works very well. I want to talk also about instructor conflict warnings that can come up. So if I take a period of instruction, so if I look at, say, M30701 here in Year 3, and I try to assign Sergeant Black to that period of instruction, it warns me that Sergeant Black does have his own training class he's supposed to be participating in at that time, and it does allow you to proceed if you want to unschedule just Sergeant Black for that class that he's supposed to be taking. And you can go ahead and do that, or you can say, oh no, I didn't realize that, and click no. You will get similar warnings if such a conflict happens with other Year 5 cadets when doing a drop and drag change, and that produces a conflict for a Year 5 cadet, or if you're doing an autofill and that results in a conflict with a Year 5 cadet schedule, and you'll be warned. In terms of other instructors, of course there can be similar conflicts. If we take a look at it for an example with Warrant Officer Carr, who's assigned to teach in period 3 with the first years. And if I take Warrant Officer Carr and I assign him to also instruct in the same period for Year 2, it's not warning me. I'm just going to turn off some of this other PO highlighting and room highlighting. So it's not going to warn me immediately, but as you've done for other instructors, as you've done your assignments, you can go back to that instructor schedule, double click on their name, and it will show you where there are instructor conflicts. So it's showing me that there's a conflict in period 3 here. It's in red, and if you click on it, in the detail information here, it will explain what the conflicts are, and then you can deal with it accordingly. In this case, we'll simply delete him from that other period of instruction. We just put that on. So you can do that with other instructor schedules. It's just a bit of a manual check, but you can check very quickly for the entire year for that instructor. And the same thing if there was a conflict with a classroom assignment. Once you've done your classroom assignments, just quickly click each classroom location's schedule, and you will see if there's any conflict. click on the conflict and we'll tell you what it is. Oops, I'll just clear that conflict. And just to close off this topic, the remaining buttons on the master scheduler are the ACR, COs, parades, and stand downs. In our next video, we will be demonstrating the dashboard manager and its features.